Nancy Pelosi is remaining in the House, but she will no longer be the leader of the Dem House caucus. And she is putting forward her own handpicked successor. No surprise there, Hakeem Jeffries. In fact, the top 3 leadership positions in the House, they have basically handpicked and assured that there will be no dissent in this whole process. Nancy Pelosi decided this is who she wants to be her successor. It is a total, classic corporate shill who's been at total war with the left. And now they're bragging about the fact that there is going to be no debate or discussion around this whatsoever. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen from Politico. Dems get in array on future leadership after Pelosi departs. They say here House Democrats are increasingly likely to elect their troika of top leaders, good word there, for the next Congress without any major confrontation, ensuring a show of unity as they enter the minority. They go on to say they quietly diffuse several potential conflicts, can't have any conflict, God forbid, that could have divided their members. Pramila Jayapal, I'll get to that in a minute, who'd been eyeing a slot for the number 2, announced Friday she was running for re-election as chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And they have some quotes here that just are, to me, amazing. Jerry Connolly says, with the current leadership moving to the side, actually having some certainty and clarity about the next team is, I think, something reassuring for the caucus. They talk about how they feel like they're the adults in the room because they don't have any dissent. It's like, God, you all have such contempt for democracy, number 1. Number 2, you're idiots if you think that the public cares at all, whether what your little leadership battles and fights are. And number 3, Pramila Jayapal is the biggest fool in the world. I am sorry. This woman has been throwing her own caucus and progressives under the bus with the foolish idea, which was always a fantasy, that maybe she was going to get some leadership position, and then she just meekly goes to the side. I mean, to give you one example, you had her calling this progressive caucus call to endorse Shontel Brown over Nina Turner, and to actually throw in on that race on the side of a corporate Democrat over an actual progressive, much to the chagrin of some of the members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. They could have just stayed out. She did that instead. And then most recently, this whole freaking Ukraine progressive letter fiasco, which was all at the feet of Pramila Jayapal, who, the letter gets released. Immediately, once she gets pushed back, and I'm sure some calls from Pelosi or whoever, she starts backtracking. Oh, let me explain. I didn't really mean anything about that whole diplomacy, wanting to actually see the war to come to a close. That didn't mean anything. And then ultimately retracts the whole thing, throws the staff under the bus, all again because she thought she had some shot at leadership here. And then the minute they're like, no, you don't, she just meekly goes away. And she's not the only one. Squad member Jamal Bowman says he will support Hakeem Jeffries. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. On the possibility that both of the Dem leaders in Congress will be New Yorkers, that would be Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. He said, quote, "That's pretty gangster." Keep in mind that Hakeem Jeffries actually sided with Eliot Engel over Jamal Bowman in that primary. I mean, Pelosi has obviously been at war with the left of the caucus. Hakeem Jeffries is, if anything, more adversarial. This dude's top ally in Congress is literally Josh Gottheimer, to give you a sense of where he positions himself in the caucus. And yet, not a word of dissent from the supposed firebrands within the Democratic caucus. I mean, look, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene and those people are freaking crazy, but I have to be jealous of the fact that they are willing to piss off their own leadership and be adversarial. What is the difference between electing a squad member and electing a regular rank-and-file Democrat at this point when they're completely unwilling to go against and be adversarial and piss people off in leadership? It's just, to me, it's utterly pathetic.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you said, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz won't even say that he'll vote for Kevin McCarthy on the floor. He's like, no, unless I absolutely have to, I will not do it. I'm going to mount a protest vote. You had Thomas Massie and others basically licking their chops, saying they're going to do this. Andy Biggs ran against Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
And Kevin McCarthy, he respected him basically he's like, okay, I'll work with you guys after I lost. You guys have some real power.
Kevin McCarthy is going to be Speaker of the House, ultimately. They're going to fold, but guess what? They're going to extract their pound of flesh.
Yes.
They got Marjorie back on the committees. They're going to get committee chairmanships, whatever little rule changes they want. They're going to get something to enhance their position within the caucus and to be able to consolidate more power. These people who just immediately are like, oh, Hakeem Jeffries, that's gangster. That's amazing. That's great. Even though he's against everything we claim to stand for and has been like shitting on us relentlessly for years, we're just gonna immediately bend the knee. Pathetic is the only word that I can come up with to use it. And actually, New York Magazine had a piece here on Hakeem Jeffries. They call him Speaker of the Establishment. I think we have this, put this up on the screen. And it's just all about, I mean, they say Hakeem Jeffries becoming House Democrats' next leader is not necessarily a sign of progress. Yeah, you think. They go through, some of his wars on the left. But ultimately, the big conclusion here for anybody, regardless of their ideological view, is this is an attempt for the 80-somethings in leadership, like the old people in leadership, to hand the torch to people who will be exactly like them. And with Pelosi remaining in Congress for a while, too, I mean, there's no doubt Hakeem Jeffries will just basically be doing her bidding of whatever she tells him to do. And, this is their play to sort of preserve their status quo positioning within the Democratic Party and positioning of the Democratic Party indefinitely into the future. So this is why I get pissed off when people are like, we need generational change. It's like, what does that mean? Let's talk about ideology. Let's talk about tactics at the very least. Just passing the torch to someone who is younger than you, but ultimately just as corrupt as you, is not really progress.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and here in this situation, this is like when Putin was not president of Russia. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Hakeem Jeffries really is our Medvedev of the era. It's like,
that's a great analogy.
Immediately, that's what I thought of. I was like, this is just as fake as when Putin was no longer running. Like, who do you think is going to be whipping the votes? Who do you think has been raising all the money? Who do you think is going to be, here's a question. Whenever they do a major fundraiser, are they going to call Hakeem Jeffries or are they going to call Nancy Pelosi? They're going to call Nancy. And as long as she's in Congress, that's just how it's going to be, unless she actually retires. So we have it very clear here. He's basically the front man, for Jim Clyburn, who, by the way, loves him. He's like his chosen protege. Not a surprise. Same with Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer. All of these guys basically groomed him for power, and now he will be the person at the top. And, there's zero ideological change. He's lockstep with the Biden administration on this, and you can expect basically nothing. As you said, you almost can't blame them for doing that. That's very standard for people who are in power. But for the so-called dissidents and people who want some sort of change within the caucus, that doesn't exist at all. And they're not willing to do anything to try and get even somewhat a 5% different outcome in the House of Representatives.
They're so afraid of their own shadow. They're so afraid of someone like saying something mean about them on cable news. It's just sad. I mean, honestly, like, is it too much to ask for to have one bomb thrower, one real dissident in the House Democratic Caucus, apparently? I mean, I guess ultimately respect to Pelosi because she got them all to completely bend the knee and just go along with whatever succession plan they put up ultimately. So there you go. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.